and then I was like, you know what, let's just try Japanese. And I tried Japanese, and I fell in love with it.
You keep on studying, because eventually you will achieve fluency.
So my name is Noah Johnson. I'm from Minnesota.
Hi, my name's Connor. I'm from Richmond, Virginia originally.
So I like about Blue House because they kind of said, I'm in the JLPT prep class, and so are you, and so I really like that it's kind of at our own pace. They provide us with the resources we need to get done, and they have a guideline for you. Like, here's what you need to do. They provide you with the resources, the ability to ask questions. Blue House has wonderful teachers and wonderful...
There's no gun off screen.
Yeah, exactly. But I think my favorite part is that living in Tokyo for 4 months, besides the exchange clubs with my wife and the students there that were learning English, it was really difficult to kind of meet Japanese people, as not so much in Okinawa. Okinawans tend to be a lot more friendlier, but especially in Tokyo, is strangers don't really want to talk to you. And they don't really want to interact, and it's really hard to kind of meet those people. So having the opportunity in Blue House where the English learner students who are learning English come up and talk to you and have conversations with you, and I've gotten in contact with several of the students there. We're planning a fishing trip with one of them already, and I've only done Blue House for about a month now. So that's already super amazing to do. So that's probably my favorite part here.
So the things that I really like about Blue House are pretty much in line with what Noah said. I'm in the class with Noah where it's more, we're at different levels. We're at different levels of proficiency. We use different books. I use the textbooks as a guideline, and then I'll come to class prepared with questions of, hey, like how, like this the book says this about this grammar, like can I use it this way?
Yep.
And or like, hey, this word in the dictionary says this, but culturally or colloquially, or do you use it in this way? That's something that you won't get from necessarily studying on your own. You need a teacher, you need someone that's in the culture or is a native speaker of the language to provide those cultural insights. Because just because it says something in the dictionary, that may not mean that they use that word that particular way. So it's very kind of go at your own pace, and excellent teachers, very friendly staff. I always look forward to coming twice a week, and then for the biggest moneymaker is the exposure to native Japanese speakers. The Japanese students that are learning English come upstairs, and you get to practice your Japanese with them, and they get to practice their English with you. So it's a very reciprocal relationship, and I've definitely developed some friendships that I wouldn't have otherwise because of Blue House.
All right, so there are several benefits to having Japanese Okinawan friends, and also one negative that I will speak about is that with my wife, Shin, I tend to get lazy. She is exponentially better at English than I am at Japanese, so I do fall into the trap sometimes where I will kind of use her as a translator and go, what are they saying? Can you ask this question to them? Even though I know how to ask and I know that I should try and do it, she's just too nice to tell me, no, you go do it yourself. So I will say being more proactive, even when you're with somebody who maybe is really good at English, to speak Japanese and to kind of force that upon yourself. I know we have done a day of English and a day of Japanese, and we switch off back and forth. And that's really helped with my vocabulary and kind of my natural sentence structure. And then I would say another great benefit is that while I was in Tokyo, it was really hard to meet strangers around, but Okinawans are not like people in Tokyo as much. They are way more friendly and way more open to meeting new people. Today we went fishing, me and my wife, and we met an old man that was very nice and very kind and very interested in why there was two young kids out there with a bunch of old guys around them, and he asked us like where we're from and kind of his experiences. He had worked on Kadena, where I work now, and he had gone to New York, Canada, Australia to teach karate as a sensei. Yeah, so it was a really cool story and a really cool experience.
Just because you're in Okinawa doesn't mean that you're like, all right, I'm here in Okinawa, immerse, and like you just absorb the language through osmosis just because you're in the geographic island of Japan or a geographic island of Okinawa. Especially here on Okinawa, it's very easy to get trapped in your little American bubble. It's like go from Hanson to Schwab to Foster to Kinzer, and like you just stay like in those little American English-speaking bubbles. And you go off base. You're typically going off base with your American friends. So having those Japanese friends, going outside of your comfort zone and making friends with the locals. And I'm not saying don't hang out with your English-speaking friends, but get away from them for maybe a weekend or two every couple of weeks, and just hang around Japanese speaking, because that is going to improve your Japanese more than anything. It's just that is how you immerse yourself in language, being around people where they aren't speaking English.
Well, before Japanese, I actually hated learning languages. Like, honestly, like many Americans can relate. I'm sure you as well. I took Spanish in high school, or assuming French, Spanish, or German. Yeah. One of those three is kind of what we were given a choice in high school, and I hated it. I hated learning languages. I took Latin because my worst part of the language is speaking, and I hated speaking it. So I took Latin, also hated it, even though I didn't have to speak it. And then I was like, you know what, let's just try Japanese. And I tried Japanese, and I fell in love with it. And I love that I'm able to talk to new people. I met my wife through Japanese, so that's probably the best thing that's ever happened to me. And it opens up a lot of doors. It really, really, really does. So I started learning Japanese because I was really interested in East Asian history, especially East Asian high politics, the history of that. So I was really interested in, for example, Tokugawa Ieyasu. I studied him a lot, and then wanting to learn more on the primary sources, which require you to actually read Japanese. I wanted to take Japanese classes. So in college, I took Japanese for 2 years now, and I really loved it. And it turns out that ancient Japanese is a lot more different than modern Japanese. So after I become proficient in modern Japanese, I plan to learn ancient Japanese as well.
All right, my reason isn't as high speed as that. I started learning Japanese after I got orders here. I started learning kind of on my own back in the States before I even moved out here. I grew up watching anime, so that I think is a very typical kind of American. Is like you want to learn the language of the culture, the cultural thing that you love to experience. And then I didn't really start seriously studying until I went to Kyoto, where there's significantly less English, and it was. I got back from that trip. It was like a little 4 day weekend, and I was like, I didn't like the fact that I could not read anything. I took French in college. I was able to survive and interact in France very well with my French skills. So I had never been in a country where I couldn't even read, let alone understand the spoken language. So that was that. It was like, okay, like I don't like that feeling. I'm gonna buckle down and start actually learning the language.
So in college, I studied for 2 years, and previously I'd taken Latin, so I kind of knew how to study a language and kind of had the flow of it, at least reading-wise. So I studied for 2 years pretty heavily in college. I actually studied abroad in Tokyo, and that's where I met my wife, Shin. And now one of my biggest motivators is to be able to speak with her family, as they don't know any English, and so I continue to study every day, even though it is very hard with my job and how busy we are. So I continued to use them when I first started. I did the Genki books, the Genki series, so Genki 1 and 2. I finished that, and then I started to do Quartet a little bit before I came here, but then some online resources I use on my own. WaniKani is a huge one for kanji reading. A lot of Japanese textbooks give you kanji at a slightly slower pace. It's very good for understanding and being able to write it, but WaniKani really solidifies being able to recognize kanji, and kanji is super important for learning new words, as new words that you don't know, but you know the kanji of, you can decipher the meaning from those words, and that's been immensely helpful for me. And then Tori SRS is a great resource for expanding your vocabulary, and as well as Boon Pro is very good for grammar and reviewing. My goal now for this December is to pass N3, and then my goal by the end of next year, hopefully, will be to take and pass the N2.
So I've been fairly inconsistent, unfortunately, with my studying. I've been studying since March of 21. When I'm on point and I have a good rhythm down and I'm consistent, I usually study anywhere between 4 and 6 hours a week. And then for study materials, I've been using the Japanese from Zero books by George Trombley. I have a paid subscription to his website. I also use a great dictionary app is called Imiwa. That's the one I use on my phone. I unfortunately don't remember the name of the kanji one. I have a separate one for kanji on my phone as well, which I don't remember the name of off the top of my head. So those are the primary resources that I use, and then I also have a couple manga in Japanese, Spy Family, Demon Slayer, and then there's a couple online resources that our awesome Monica Sensei sent us for kindergarten level, first grade level readers. I passed JLPT N5, easiest level. I'm not as proficient in Japanese as Noah here, but my ultimate goal is this year is to pass the N4 in December, and then work my way up to N1.
I know when I first started that you kind of look it up, and you may have experienced it too. You go on Reddit like, how fast does it learn to take Japanese?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you can pass N2 in a year. And I'm like, that is really unrealistic unless you literally have nothing going else in your life, and you can absorb languages like nobody else. But Japanese is an amazing language and an amazing culture, and I highly suggest that you take it as steadily as possible so you absorb everything.
To Noah's point about setting realistic expectations, one of the things I've noticed with, and I have to remind myself as well, is like, think of where you are right now. If you're a service member coming out here, you're probably set between the ages of 17 and 45. Like, how long it took you to get where you are in English proficiency. You went through grade school, you grew up with your parents, all these things. Expectation that it's like, I should be more fluent in Japanese than where I'm at right now. Like, manage expectation. Yes, you will learn the language faster than if you were like a 2-year-old. That's just kind of a given because you're not 2 anymore. But you will go through the clunky. You're going to sound like a robot, like kore wa pen desu. Like, you will make a ton of mistakes. You will have to get through just really, really boring conversations with people that are being very patient with you because people at Blue House want you to learn the language. So I would just say, come in, know it's going to be a working process. A year, 365 days is very fast to learn a language. And again, like Noah said, if you have nothing else going on, you can definitely make some headwind doing nothing but Japanese in a year. Realistically, if you're coming here, you have a job, you have maybe some other hobbies, especially if you have a family, passing N5, even N4 within 365 days of you arriving here and actually starting and consistently studying is, I think, a reasonable and attainable goal. Unfortunately, due to my own personal circumstances, I haven't been studying as frequently or as consistently as I should have. So I only just recently passed the N5 despite me studying since 2021, and I don't want that to discourage people like, oh my gosh, it took him 3 years to pass N5. That is due to my own personal circumstances. But I would leave Island for a couple months, come back. I was in the hospital for a bit, come back, and you keep on studying, because eventually you will achieve fluency, and I will achieve fluency at some point. It's just, you just got to keep chipping. You just got to keep chipping away at it and being consistent in the little things.
With my teacher at my school, we were I think I was in the very first class. So what you learn is busu, which is the Japanese word for bus, but in English it's bus. And so I said busu, which in Japanese is ugly women. So not something you want to call your Japanese teacher, but that's kind of what happened. And she laughed it off, and she had a great sense of humor. And I really liked all my Japanese teachers so far. So she's very good. Oh, that's a good one too. So actually, this sort of one that was even more recent. So you can even still make mistakes, kind of even 2 years into it. And mother, yes, ofukuro is another word for mother, but bukuro is the word for bag. So at the konbini, so you would say reiji bukuro is how they ask you if you want a bag, but I would say, oh, I don't need reiji, so I would just say fukuro, because fukuro, ofukuro kudasai. So give me your mother is not generally what you want to say to people. I never got confused looks. They understood what I was trying to say, but I definitely think they were probably laughing behind me. So.
Yasashi is the word for kind, and I was talking about my fiance, and I was just like, oh, like my fiance is kind. Well, the only problem is there's another word that's one letter different from yasashi, and that is yarashi, which does not mean kind. It is not a PG word, so I essentially referred to my fiance as something that you would not ordinarily refer. You wouldn't refer to your fiance in such a way, at least in a healthy relationship. Let's put it that way. So yeah, that was. I got some very strange looks, which was an immediate cue that something I did not say what I intended to say.
The cultural. That's a good one. I like that one.